Welcome to my video demonstration for Project Overload. I'm just going to try and go through a bunch of things here just as setup, and then I'll get into the demonstrations. So here I am on my DC1, which is admod.itasktalent.ca. It has the global group for nerds, managers, geeks, and dorks. CO is the user here. The computers are all added to the domain. The dorks, there's 3 users there. The geeks and all these are members of their respective groups. Managers, there's 1 manager and workstation there. Just close all this. So I've got a ton of GPOs made. This one's the auto log off, default domains, default, screensaver timeout. All these have had some minor things that I will go through soon. I've got my second domain controller here that is in a trust with the main domain controller. It has the secrets file here with its report of secrets that will be used later. That is in a share, secret share. We've got Hyper-V 1, which is hosting file server 1 and 2 and the IIS overload VM, which all work. For the IIS VM, it is hosting IIS, and if I just go to um, localhost, you can see custom little thing there that'll be used later. File server 1 and 2 are in a cluster, which is FS cluster, which is here. It's got the file server running with multiple shares for corp data, personnel, user data, wallpapers, and software is all on there. The 2 nodes are both up. The storage and quorum are all working. And for the 2 Hyper-V VMs that I have here, they are part of the Hyper-V cluster, which has both of them there. And there's the disks. That can fail over back and forth. If I just move to the best possible node, you see it goes over to Hyper-V 2. Yeah, and the VMs are all on shares, which would be / file server n, which they're all hidden at the moment since I'm accessing it from here. But if I go actually into file server 1 and I go down here to this PC, it's actually on file server 2 right now, actually. I will go over to that one. This PC, the nested storage, you can see all of these files here. Wallpaper just has the wallpapers, which will be used there. User profile, these are just from the tests. User data, also from some tests. Software is for the default apps applet that was needed for configuring the default page for IE later, and Firefox setup, which will be installed with a GPO. Personnel is just for mapping, and same with corp data, it has all those. And that is on the file server on FS2 at the moment, which can also be failed over to if I want to move that to the best possible node, it goes over to FS1. And then if I look at FS1, then you can see it appears there. I have a FreeNAS storage, which is what's used for the shared storage for the cluster Hyper-V and the nested cluster, which there's some extents, there's the initiator portal, all that stuff just so it works. I have 1 overload client and 1 overload backup server, which I will display later. We'll just get going. I've got kind of a little script here just so I can show off what I need to show off. So for 1A, we're going to go default domain policy, computer config, policies, Windows settings, security settings, account policy, password policy. So I've just got it 10 password remember 30 days, 1 password age, 10 characters required, must meet the complexity requirements, and for the account lockout, 45 minutes, 3 invalid attempts, and 45-minute lockout there. So we'll just get right into this. I'll just start with dork test. And I'll log in here. We've got our background there. I'll just go to IE. It has a custom homepage there. It won't resolve to anything, but it does still um, go to the custom URL. Firefox is installed. I'll show a fresh one later. And a shortcut that works just to Geek's homepage again. Doesn't go anywhere, but there's the shortcut. As for some other stuff, there's the mapped user data where it can make and delete. Same with the corp data. I can make a folder, I can delete a folder. And then for the password, I will go here, change password. We'll just go ahead and change the password here. We're going to put the old password and then a short password, which is just test. Unable to update the password, the value does not meet the length, complexity, or history requirements. We'll also try going something simple like password 123. And that also does not meet the complexity requirements. And I will log off and log back in with the incorrect password multiple times. And after the third, even if I input the correct password, the account is locked and may not be logged into. So to unlock it, I will go to using computers, go to dork test was the one I was doing, and I will go to its properties, go to account, and unlock account. This account is currently locked out of the Active Directory. So I will do that. That account is now unlocked. And if I just go right back and try and log in, it will let me. So that's how you unlock the account. Just wanted to show that it actually lets me back in. There we go. For this next one, I'll be showing auditing. So I have a GPO here auditing under the DC, which if I go down through computer config to audit policy, it has success failure on here for logon events and account logon events. And also if I go down to advanced audit here, I go to logon and log off, and I have configured a few success failures here just to show. So if I actually go to the DC and go to the thing here, I'm just going to run this command. You can see it is showing that it will be auditing for these few things I changed. And then if I just clear that and run this command, it's going to run as geek test. And if I put a wrong password here and just try that a couple of times, and then if I go to event viewer and refresh, we can see 4625 is an error here that it's going to show geek test had a failed logon. From my domain. And yeah, that's that one. So now I've already shown the users each, the security groups. The shared folders are on file server N here. These all have the same security permissions here, which have the dorks. For this one, I will go show the geeks and the nerds next. There's the custom wallpaper for that one. There's the homepage URL. There's the shortcut to a URL. If I go to the folder here, same thing, geek test. Geeks have permission to create and delete in there. Same with their corp data. And they have the proper security. Global group for geeks, and CEO and managers also have these ones. If I switch over to nerds, the background, there's the custom URL if it didn't have to go through first time. Shortcut takes you to Nerds homepage, and Edge takes you to Nerds homepage as well. Same for this. They have permissions for both of these, corp data as well. There's that, and properties on all these are for nerds. Managers and CEO also have them, which I will show what the managers see. So manager and CEO map drives and permissions. Managers have full control, same with CEO. Here's another one of these. Start with data, gotta do all that. Just want it to actually show. So the shortcut manager homepage, again, won't actually show anything. And for Edge, I don't actually know if I mapped anything for that because I don't think I had to. But for manager, you can see manager test also has one of these. Can add and delete. And for corp data, they can see nerds and geeks, but not dorks. And they can make things in both of these and delete things in both of these. This is in the corp data folder for both of those. If I switch over to CEO, this one I didn't do a group every time I did CEO permissions since there's only one CEO. I just added the user. I should have made it a security group in case the company wanted to had a change of management or something. CEO shortcut has a CEO homepage. And this is the one where it's going to have a lot of stuff. So they have their own user folder. They can create and delete. They have a personal file P drive, which they can also do. Corp data, they can see all of them, and they have permissions to make and delete in all of these because they have full control. And they have access to that secret share, which is mapped to the Y drive, which has the report of secrets, which is on DC02, which is right there, which if we just show that share properties again, the security, the CEO, and admins have access, but it specifically is through that trust with the aidenmod.itastalent.ca domain. And just to show the domain actually having its trust is on DC02 for WMD Talent. It has the aidenmod.itastalent.ca force trust, which is here on this one. And if I go over to DC01, it has a trust with WMD Talent.ca, which is the second DC, which has the secrets share on it. For this next demonstration, I'll be showing the GPOs that disallow access to specific parts of the control panel. So I have over here, Geeks has control panel Geeks, which disables the control panel entirely for Geeks. If I try and go there, it has restrictions and will not allow Geeks in any form to do that. If I switch over to Dorks, they can access it, but they do not have add or remove programs. They do not have access to, user accounts, and they don't have access to admin tools, which would be at the bottom here. That is restricted by the control panel nerds and control panel dorks. Both are basically the same. Screensaver timeout is 10 minutes for all users. So here's the screensaver timeout GPO. Under the screensaver timeout GPO, under using config policies down to personalization, there is a screensaver timeout option here, which is enabled for 600 seconds, which is 10 minutes, which is applied across the whole domain. I'm not going to show you that locking because I don't think I'm going to sit here and wait 10 minutes for that or set it differently. There is the GPO that is set to all authenticated users and it does work. Folder redirection policy. So all of these are redirected downloads folders. So if I go to the properties of this downloads folder, it is set to the location on the file server N, which is the nested failover cluster file server, which makes a user thing for this specific user, this dork test, and gives them downloads. And they do have permission to write to these and delete. I'll show one other user. I'll just swap over to Geek. And if I go down here to downloads, properties, same thing, the location is there. Security is just for this user because it gets those permissions and it can create and delete. The group policy that does that is specific to folder redirection downloads. So if I go here, if I go to policies, Windows, folder redirection down to downloads, here is it. It redirects everyone to the same location and creates a folder for each user under their root path, and it is on that share, which is that shared user profile folder on the file server N. Firefox installs automatically, so let me just, I will sign out. That was the DC. I will go over to the client and I'm going to sign out and switch user to, we'll just go to dork test 2, which has not been logged into yet. It's going to take a moment, which I will cut out here for the initial installation. And here we are on dork test 2 with the out-of-box experience, I guess, for a new user in the domain. So it has Firefox installed. And if I go down here, default apps, Firefox is the default web browser on dork test 2, which is the first time this has been logged into. The printer, we'll just go printers and scanners because this there's the overload printer there, which is hosted off of file server 01 here, which I'll just show. If I go to the printers, you can see overload printer here, which if I go to the properties and sharing, it is shared on //fso1 overload printer with security for managers and CEO have print, manage, and document, and authenticated users only have print. So if I go back to overload client, this is dork test. So I can click manage, I can click printer properties. I cannot actually change any of these settings because I do not have permission to manage this printer. I can also, if I open the print queue, I'm not able to pause the printer because I'm not the CEO or manager. So if I just swap over to CEO, for example, who has full control over this printer, and then if I go to printers and scanners, overload printer, manage, print queue, I am able to pause printing, and same with the properties. I can change all of these options because I have full control. Same with the manager, they are also on the permissions for that. Using PowerShell to link and unlink a GPO. So we're going to go with one of these that I've already set up and tested. So we're just going to open PowerShell ISE. And the GPO we're going to be disabling is Wallpaper Geeks. So just for this, Wallpaper Geeks, and it has this ID. So I'm going to set it as the target here and set the link to no, so that if I go over here to Geeks and the Wallpaper Geeks, it will show link is not enabled. And if I run that command but with yes, it now updates there. And if I just refresh that, it is now link enabled again. For the second demonstration, I'll be removing the link with a very similar command, which basically just targets the GUID and removes the GP link. So if I now refresh here, Wallpaper Geeks is no longer under the Geeks OU. But if I run this new GPU link command, same deal, it targets the GUID and creates that new link. So if I now refresh again, Wallpaper Geeks is back and the link is enabled. I've already shown the report of secrets and deleting and restoring the web server with a backup. So for the backup and restore portion of this video, I went with Veeam because I love Veeam. It's on its own overload backup server and it has IIS backup job here, which is a Hyper-V backup, which I did 22 hours ago. But it is basically pointing at the overload IIS VM, which is this one, which has the IIS server on it. It also just has this file here, just as a test backup, and it's just going to show up on there. But if I go to Hyper-V and delete the whole VM after turning it off, delete, delete, so it is now entirely gone. If I refresh, it is no longer there. So if I go over to Veeam Backup, and I go to this disk backup, and I select Restore, Microsoft Hyper-V, Restore from Backup, entire VM restore, entire VM restore. Can add it from backup, which is the IIS backup. Which if I hit next and restore to original location, I will hit next again, skip through this, and then it will be deleted from the infrastructure, yes. So then it will begin the restore job. So now that that restore is done, you see restore completed successfully for that full restore. So now if I go back over to Hyper-V 1 and I just refresh this, it is already showing even before the refresh. So if I restart this, I just take a moment because it is first time for this one booting up since it got restored. But there we go. If I just hit that there, I can log right back in with the same credentials as before. And then there we go, same test file that was on that other one, and IIS still installed, and I can still go right to http://localhost, and there is that config still saved. So that's the demonstration for the backup and restore. So almost forgot to show that the manager can add or remove programs. So we'll just go down here to calculator and uninstall that, and it is uninstalling just fine. Just to go over each of the GPOs that I'm using and kind of what they do. Auditing is to enable the event viewer auditing for log on, log off that I showed earlier. Auto log off is for the auto log off policy across the domain, and control panel for dorks, geeks, and nerds that are applied to each of their respective groups is for the individual restrictions based on the criteria for hiding the control panel or hiding certain features of the control panel. Default Firefox is applied to the Workstations OU, which automatically installs Firefox based on the Firefox install package in a file share on Hyper-V 1. Deploy printer deploys printer to each individual user across all of the OUs from the Hyper-V 1 file server. The desktop shortcuts for each are pretty straightforward. They make the desktop shortcut for each specific user group. The drive maps as well map the drives to each individual user based on their groups. Firefox auto install is to, I guess, automatically install, which I might have. Default Firefox was to set it as the default, not to install it. Firefox was the actual auto install. Folder redirection is applied to all the OUs. homepage for dorks, geeks, and nerds are all pretty straightforward. It sets that default homepage that I demonstrated earlier. Screensaver timeout is the specific criteria for that, and wallpapers for each as well. So before I forget to actually show the failing over, I'll just do a little quick demonstration. On my CEO client, I've got my mapped P drive. I've made a failover test in here. And on Hyper-V 1, we'll show that on the nested file server, it is currently on FS1. If I just turn off FS1, we'll go over here and and we have it now moved over and pending there. FS2 is the only one running. FS1 has failed it over there, and if I refresh here, it is still accessible from this VM. And now I will fail over everything currently on Hyper-V 1 to Hyper-V 2 by just force shutting it down. If I go over to Hyper-V 2, we'll see these are now stopping and saving from Hyper-V 1, moving over to Hyper-V 2. If I go to the Hyper-V manager, you can actually see them moving over to Hyper-V 2. Yeah, so they've all failed right on over. The data was also failing over on the um, nested, and I'm pretty sure that's it. Thank you for your time. Sorry if this was a little bit patched together. I wanted to cut out all of the long time of waiting in between each bit of criteria. I hope I covered everything. Thank you for your time.